Allah to accept our ibadah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our shortcomings. We ask Allah to grant us the ability to maintain our faith and our worship towards Him. Ameen Ya Rabbil Alameen. As we started the discussion of clothing, and we have spoke on two different aspects of clothing, mainly the theme was through Surah Al-A'raf, the ayat in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us basic rules of what type of clothing that a believer should be wearing. Now, the last category that we want to mention from the same surah is a special type of clothing. And this is very important for those who come to the masjid. Because Allah says, Ya bani Adam khudhu zinatakum inda kulli masjidin wa kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu innahu la yuhibbul musrifin. So there is a bare minimum clothing, which we already discussed, yuwari sawatihim, and then there are clothing for comfort, warisha. And then Libaas taqwa, the clothing of pious people, is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recommends for people to wear. And we discussed on that already. So today's discussion, Allah says, Ya bani Adam khudhu zinatakum. Now over here, Allah Azza wa Jal is not using any of those three forms that He has used in the past. Rather, a greater word has been used when you are coming to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all the mufassirun, they agree upon that zina is referring to the clothing that you wear when you come to the masjid. Now, what is it? It has to be consist of all the three categories that Allah is mentioning. Number one, it should cover your private part. So if you're coming to the masjid and any of the part that are supposed to be are mandatory for a person to cover, and for the male is from their navel including the knees, and for female is in the entire body. If any of those areas are uncovered, then you are against the orders of Allah. And over here the mufassirun say, Allah says, khudhu zinatakum. It's an amr, al-amru lil-wujub. So it is mandatory, it's compulsory for you to wear proper clothing when you come to the masjid. So it has to be consist of all the three categories. Number one is, it should cover your private areas at the time when you're praying your salah. Warisha, and the clothing should be comfortable to perform the prostration and to perform the ruku and all the actions of salah. So if you're performing your ruku, or you're performing your sujood, you're sitting down in your tashahhud, and your clothing are bothering you, and they're not comfortable that you're able to sit down, or by doing those actions, your private part are being exposed, the mandatory areas, then your salah is not valid and you're not wearing proper clothing in the masjid. The third thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions when you come to the masjid is Libaas taqwa. That you have to wear modest clothing. And that modest clothing should be a best of your clothing. And that's why the ulama mentioned that whenever you come to the masjid, you should get ready like you're going for Eid or you're going for Jum'ah. The way you're supposed to come. You know, a person, mashallah, he takes out a brand new clothing from the bag and from the packaging on the day of Eid. But the ulama mentioned that when you come to the masjid, you should prepare yourself every single time the same way as if you're going to go and perform your Eid salah. And that is the meaning of khudhu zinatakum inda kulli masjid. A lot of times we come with whatever clothing we have. A person, you know, his socks are dirty, his clothing are dirty, there are foul smell coming from his body, he's probably working outside or maybe playing sports and his entire body is filled with sweat odor. And that is completely making the masjid unclean. And that is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is recommending for us when you come to His house. Because this is not my house, it's not your house, it's the house of Allah. I have rules at my house. Please put your shoes outside. Do not come in with your shoes. When you go to the bathroom, please use the bathroom in a certain way. When you're doing certain things, you should do it in a certain way. Because I want everything to be clean and nice in my house. So I put those rules and regulations so that everything stays clean and nice. When we are coming to the house of Allah, we have to follow the rules and regulations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah explicitly says in the Quran, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ masjid. When you come to the masjid, make sure your clothes are clean, make sure your body is clean, make sure your socks are clean, and make sure you don't have a bad odor on your body or on your mouth, in your mouth. So that you're not giving difficulties to the angels, and you're not giving difficulties those who are praying salah around you. We ask Allah to grant us the understanding. Ask Allah to give us the ability to practice on this hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakum Allahu khairan. Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.